the assembly instructional video for the market stand. Now in the deluxe version of this, because they added the Kabbalah 2 and some of the other secondary Wells Pawn Shop, there's actually 2 of these market stands. But this assembly video, they're exactly the same between them, just we need to follow the process twice. So there's essentially 2 different portions of this. There's a little drawer that's going to hold the pawns and some of the other tokens, and then you've got the actual main stand here. So we can start with the drawer, and to do that we're going to start with this base piece here. And the first piece you need to put in there is a little divider wall. So again, with all these things we recommend using glue. Some of the fits are tighter than others, so if you're not using glue, it has potential to fall apart on you afterwards. So put glue in the valleys here, and then we'll pop that right into this base floor here. And then kind of set it up on its edge like that. And we'll take one of these side walls, and obviously want to correspond the little notch here to the location of that divider wall. Again, glue in all the valleys on this, and kind of line up the divider, and then get it started and kind of work your way across. You can flex the parts a little bit if they're not perfectly lining up, just with the way they're laid out. So they will go together if they're lined up properly there. So flip it over, do the same thing on the opposite side. So glue in the valleys. Again, you want to line that notch up with that tab. So flip that one over, go right there, kind of get started, wiggle that one to where it lines up, and then everything should just fall right into place. Squeeze it all together nice and tight. And we'll flip it on its end. And it doesn't really matter which side. You can see on the 2 end pieces here, they're identical in terms of the way the notches line up. Just one of them has this tab here, so it doesn't make a lot of difference, but typically put the, I think with the way the words are etched on there, you'd have the pawn section here with the larger tab. So that way when you pull it out, it's the etchings are facing you. So get that lined up. Again, glue in all the valleys there. Pop together. You can see that one is a little tighter than some of the other ones. And do the same thing with the back wall here. So glue in all the valleys, kind of get lined up, work your way across, and just snaps right in. And then wipe up any excess glue and make sure it's all nice and tight, because this is a drawer, so as it slides in, the clearances to the outer box for that are kind of critical, so you want to make sure this is nice and snug. So set that one aside right now, and then start with the actual market stand itself. So first piece is this base piece. You'll notice that there's some etched in partial circles on this thing, and what those are for is those are identifying where to actually lay the little felt pads that came with the kit. And you want to make sure you get those pretty well in those circles, just so that it properly sits on top of the other market stand. But what we want to do with that is, because we want those on the bottom, flip that piece over. And then the first piece that interfaces with the bottom is this middle divider wall here. So you want to make sure that these 2 notches are on the side with the cutout. So put glue in all the valleys here. Pop that in. And wiggle it into place a little bit. And then we're going to want to take one of the longer inner walls here, which is this guy here with the long slot coming down it. And that's going to, again, glue in the valleys here. And it's just going to slip right down with this notch, interfacing with this notch here, and these keys going into the slots down in the base plate. And you want to have that long slot away from the side with the notch here. So I'll just go straight down like that. And get it lined up, and should just snap right in. When you're pushing on this, don't bear too hard on this top piece here. It does get a little bit thinner relative to the rest of the components here. So structural wise, you want to kind of grab this base if you're squeezing on this side and push down. So I guess next step we can actually take, so these are the trays that the cards will actually sit on. So I want to start by taking a little card retainer floor here, and put glue in the valleys here, snap that in, clean up any excess, and just kind of set that one off to the side. Same thing with the larger one here. So glue in all the valleys, Pop that in, get it started, and then really make sure it's nice and snug. Again, clean up the excess, and that can just kind of sit off right now. And then what we're going to do is take, let's see, take this wall here, so the one with the 2 notches here, and the 2 in the back. And this is going to go into these 2 notches here, and the 2 notches going across here in the middle wall. So the way that this works is these slots are a little bit oversized, and what that allows you to do is actually insert this piece in and slide it into the adjoining wall on the side. So you want to put glue on this thing, again on the valleys, on this side and this side. And you're going to insert it into the mid wall here that we put in first, and then slide it forward, and then you can see there's a gap there, and that'll allow you to slide it towards that other mid wall and interface with those notches. So we inserted it in this way, slid it over that way. You can kind of see the gap there. That'll be hidden when we get the rest of the assembly going. And then we're going to flip this thing up on this side. And we're going to take this wall that's got the kind of squared off side with the SPG logo on it, and the rounded side here. And that is going to fit like this. So where you have the squared side towards the cutout notches. So glue in all the valleys here. Lay that in and kind of get it started. Kind of helps to start it on the notches, and then you can kind of wiggle the other pieces around until they sort of line up, and you just kind of work your way down. And once you get it all together, kind of give it a squeeze all around, make sure everything's nice and snug on all the interfaces. Okay. It should be just like that. We're going to flip it on this side. I'll do it this way so you guys can see. Then we're going to take one of the card hook trays that we made earlier, and that's just going to slide straight down here. If you're careful, you can put glue on this ahead of time, or just put it once you get it past this wall, and then you want to kind of slide it down, and those are just going to slip right into the notches in that side wall that we put on. This one's sometimes a little tricky to line up. We're just kind of wiggling around until it gets started there. There we go. Again, try to get it nice and snug. And then we're going to do the same thing with this side. So the shorter card holder, that's going to insert right into these notches. Like that. So glue in the valleys again, push in there, clean up the excess, just like pretty much all of these. And then we're going to take the final side wall here, with the logo out, and you're going to put glue in all the valleys here going around. And this one's a little bit tricky. You got to line up these two card walls are floating a little bit to where they flex. So you want to kind of line those up first, and you can kind of wiggle the pieces around to get everything to fit properly. But if you kind of start on one side, get to line up there, work your way across. You can see this one fell down a little bit, so I'm moving it back over, getting that to line up. And then just kind of work your way across the base here. And everything will go together once it's lined up. It's just a little tricky to get it lined up sometimes. Make sure everything's nice and snug, clean up any excess as you go around. Okay. And then we're going to put on the pawn holder piece. So this guy here is just going to sit right on this. So I'm going to put glue in these valleys here. You just pop that in, kind of line it up, work your way around just like all the others. And then we're going to flip the whole thing over, and we put the felt pads on. So try to get them as close to the circles as you can so it lines up when you're stacking these things. Last one. Okay. There's all the felt pads. So now the drawer, store the pawns and the tokens, and again this will have etchings in there if you got that version. That just slides on in. And there we go.